Hi, this is Chris Hayden, and today I will be talking to you about apparent and gender inequity in math and science at Santa Cruz High School. So I'll start with a bit of background about the Santa Cruz High School vision and mission statement. So it is the vision of SCHS to be a learning community that fosters intellectual curiosity, growth, creativity, respect, integrity, and responsibility. As a school community, they embrace diversity and take action to ensure the futures for all students. In terms of how we seek to achieve that goal, number one, we want to develop solution seekers who are able to define problems, propose, analyze, and try out options. We want our students to be able to collect and analyze data and info and draw conclusions. We want our students to be communicators who are able to listen, to understand, comprehend what they read, speak with clarity and meaning, and convey ideas in a variety of forms, and especially with technology used to process such information. Further along these kind of mission statement focal areas, number one, we want to have students who are motivated. They need to be able to use feedback to evaluate and improve their own work, manage their time and resources, and also to be able to apply skills, maybe transfer skills, to master subject area content, and we want them to set high goals for themselves. Finally, we want our students to be socially aware and responsible, so citizens, if you will, who demonstrate understanding from diverse points of view and experience, connecting learning to themselves and the community and the environment, and also participating responsibly in the community beyond school. In terms of overarching goals, so we've established that number one, we want to close achievement gaps, particularly for underrepresented students, increase special needs students meeting writing that meet writing requirements, and we have our LEAP program. Basically, the goal is that all SCHS students become college ready and are successful in accessing post-secondary education. We also want to focus on increasing low-performing students in math especially, and we have English language learners that fall into that category of traditionally low-performing students, and also specialist program participants. In terms of our goals, our strategic goals, number one, we want to increase efficiency and effectiveness of our professional learning communities, particularly with the use of student data. Number two, we want to increase underrepresented students being present in our AP and honors classes. Third, we want to increase opportunities for student voice and participation. Fourth, we want to improve success in our core math curriculum. And finally, we really want to develop effective and focused interventions for our struggling learners. In terms of equity gap, really we know that equity is about ensuring success for all students, and we know that equity gaps can result from a variety of different areas. So it could have to do with school culture and practices. We all have implicit biases, and teachers and administrators are no different. We know that teacher quality plays a big role and is a source of inequity. We know that the program itself can be a source of inequity, and we know that there are definitely issues regarding achievement equity. So if we look at the first of these, we can explore teacher equity. And kind of the guiding principle behind this is that we want to put teachers where their talent will be most impactful, but this isn't the case normally, as those of us who have read certain course texts have come to understand. Often the teachers who are the most qualified are placed where they're kind of needed the least. So yeah, teacher experience, right? We really need their experience to help struggling learners. This impacts what you might call teacher mobility, right? So this policy of seniority dictating placement. Basically, in terms of teacher certification, we're pretty good. You can see here from these stats that basically our entire staff is credentialed, but this doesn't really indicate anything about how they're actually distributed amongst the students. For example, we could have teachers with a lot of experience teaching students who are also kind of autodidactic and don't have problems learning, and all that experience doesn't go to waste, but it could be used in better ways. In terms of programmatic equity, so we know that we need to be thinking about these kind of three groups of people. Number one, students who need special attention. Number two, students who you could describe them as gifted and talented, who need also special attention, and also English language learners. And so you can see here from our student enrollment that we have quite a bit of these socioeconomically disadvantaged students who are particularly at risk for bilingual education needs and special education needs as well. And then we have students with disabilities. In terms of achievement equity, so we know that this is basically about gaps or discrepancies of performance amongst groups. And we have a couple of different sources to look at to explore the achievement equity that's present at our school. Number one, we have state achievement data. Number two, we can look at suspension and dropout rates, because these might also be focused on certain groups of people. And then we also have, and by people I mean students, we also have external assessments like the SAT and things like that. It should be noted that in our SCHS single plan for student achievement, we note that students with chronic unexcused absences and students with truancies and tardies, these were two areas that have been identified as areas that we need to work on. So let's look at some data for mathematics. So what we've done here is we have the 16, 17, and 18 years, and we've divided them up into male and female groups, and then 4 different categories, and this is for mathematics. So the green line there indicates kind of the passing, right? And we have exceeding, so those students that exceeded the standard, students that met the standard, students that basically nearly met the standard, that were very close, and then students that did not meet the standard. And so what you'll see here is that for the not met group across all the years, and then also, we've graphed, made an average of the 3 years so that you can kind of get, a composite picture of kind of the trend. And you can see that, for males, there are more males who have not met the standard than females. In some cases, as much as 15%. And then as we get higher, the females, the red bars start to take over. And in some years, for example, 18, it's not too dramatic, but really if we look down here, this is the area that I think we should focus on. So you can see that consistently across the 3 years, more males are not meeting the standard than females, and that's percentage of students. So if we look at the change in percentage of students across any 2 years, so from 16 to 17, right, there were almost equal numbers of male and females. The percentage change was negative, then that means that there's fewer people exceeding in both male and females. But in 17 to 18, we had a positive percentage change, and that means that there were more students who were exceeding the standard. And for math, what we kind of see is that there's a little bit of variation down here, right? So from 17 to 18, there were fewer students who were not meeting the standard, and from 16 to 17, there were actually more. And from 16 to 17, there were more males, but also more females who had nearly met. And then in 17 to 18, and 16 to 17, that percentage dropped. So there were fewer males meeting and fewer males not meeting. So if we look at English, we have a similar pattern, but I would say even a kind of, aside from the 2018, maybe an even stronger pattern here where we have females quite a bit higher above males in terms of exceeding, higher than males in terms of meeting, and then males take the lead down here in terms of not meeting, and also in those nearly met. So basically, females are doing much better than males in terms of their English performance across the years at almost every category. And if we look at the percent changes across the year, what we can see is that there's some variation, there's some big variation, and this might indicate that there are differences amongst the cohorts as they go up, but definitely there's no clear improvement or reduction in either class. So you can see in terms of those meeting and exceeding, females and males are on either side. And this might be attributable to having a stronger cohort or variation in the student population in terms of their background and their readiness and that kind of thing. But one of the reasons that we decided to use these graphs was to kind of explore the idea that there is a trend occurring over years. For example, the school is moving towards its goal of ensuring equity with regards to male and female students. So in terms of causes of equity gaps, so definitely we have, there must be or at least one source for equity gaps was suggested to be related to the practice of early streaming. And this is really something that we can think about, and we should definitely take a look at how the streaming occurs. We have an ex-teacher and student who have confirmed that streaming actually occurs very early on, and that makes it, well, when students are young, I think it's more difficult for them to accept that, for example, embracing a growth mindset, that their effort can actually have an impact on their performance. And so what we may have is a case where, particularly in English perhaps, where females maturing earlier on gain a slight advantage in terms of placement, and that this advantage becomes difficult to overcome for males. And this can be compounded by the institutional practice of distributing teachers with less experience where they're most needed. This could further limit the mobility and potential for improvement of those students who may have come to have beliefs about themselves and their mindsets fixed and reinforced by early experiences in the classroom. So basically the overall impact of this may be that low performers are remaining where they are because of this perpetuated belief about competence, sense of ability, and growth potential. And then this may, for a couple different reasons, become a gender-biased situation where males are overly susceptible to this fixed mindset and belief reinforcement. So a second cause of these observed equity gaps regarding male and female performance in math and science. So we definitely could have cases where we have we have populations of somewhat marginalized learners who become dependent, and this kind of learned helplessness and stereotype threat. These could be in effect, and that could result in internalized oppression that may be unequally affecting males and females. And so perhaps for some of these reasons here, and others that we'll talk about in a moment, males may be learning helplessness and succumbing to stereotype threat more so than females at Santa Cruz High School in math and science. So in terms of, oops, sorry, I skipped a slide here. Sorry, maybe there was another cause. So another cause, potential cause of the equity gaps that we're observing might have to do, or could have to do with kind of a female-biased rapport building and affirmation phenomena. For whatever reason, or perhaps because of the reasons that we discussed earlier, this lack of rapport or lack of positive affirmation or skewing of these lack of rapport and lack of positive affirmation towards males could be impacting their achievement. And we know that right, these kind of gender biases can inhibit trust building, and this will overall mean that teachers can be less able to build effective learning partnerships with males, or just be more inclined to do so with females. And this bias, this implicit bias, right, can have an effect on the male student achievement at Santa Cruz High School. So in terms of goals, there's a couple of strategies that we have to pursue to overcome these equity gaps. First, it's important to note that we propose most of the solutions to these issues revolve around professional learning communities and their impact on ongoing professional development in teachers. So with regards to this early streaming and teacher distributions, I mean, as much as possible, we can try and fix this institutional problem of teaching distribution. But rather than count on having this, the best teachers teaching the most needing students, we feel that it's a better approach to work on the skills of all teachers. And so through PLC, we can focus on things like mindset and help teachers understand the ideas that or the strategies and the techniques that can be used to shift student mindsets. In terms of kind of gender-biased rapport building and affirmation that may be going on, again, we're looking at the PLC mediated approach. We want to focus on developing learner partnerships and providing strategies and practice for teachers so that everyone is able to practice these, to be able to effectively provide opportunities for affirmation and validation. And there's definitely strategies that we can use and develop through the PLC approach, including assessing state and strategic action after assessing the state of the trust and rapport that's felt. We could look at individual classrooms, individual teachers, the teachers who are maybe with the populations of males who are performing poorly, and then also some of these lessons. The nice thing about PLC mediated approaches, right, and we're building the capacity of our staff. These kind of principles could be applied to any group. So whether it's male, female, socioeconomic background, or what have you, basically in building the capacity of our staff to deal with these issues and to strategically and skillfully approach them, they're able to apply these lessons to a variety of different situations. So we also looked at the marginalization, and again, this could be applied to a variety of different situations outside of this gender equity gap that we've noticed or identified here. And so that has to do with feedback strategies, or kind of a first approach. So helping teachers, helping staff be able to get in that warm demander feedback zone, and also shifting mindsets. And the academic mindset cycle protocol is really useful because basically it gives a framework so we can build these maybe dependent learners build up their mindset so that they're able to become more independent and self-sufficient. And growth mindset is also part of that, but also focusing and hitting on building intellective capacity. So strategies for building up the intellectual capacity of marginalized dependent male learners in this case, but again, the strategies and the techniques could be used in a variety of different situations to help by teachers to help them impact other marginalized groups at SCHS. So in terms of the why, how, what, really for us as teachers and as a Santa Cruz High School community, we have a commitment to impact all students, not just the ones we like, not just the ones who are doing well. We have basically the tools that we need to do that. We've identified groups that need help. So what we really want to do is focus on improving these equity gaps by applying the appropriate strategies. And that's really going to make us as a community a better group of teachers wherever we go in the future by tackling this problem now. So yeah, we want to embrace diversity and recognize that we're a community of learners, and that our why is we have a commitment to all students. All right, thank you.